Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I am Kim.
And I am Tia.
And today we are going to talk about something that I am sure many of you can relate to. It is stress and it's pressure. And we will get into in a moment more on that. But let me begin with our quote. And the quote is a very simple one and a fun one this time. A lot of times we have these longer quotes that are serious, but this is a really quick and fun quote. So here it is. When something goes wrong in your life, just yell, plot twist, and move on.
I love that. Plot twist.
Plot twist. Okay, so what does that mean? We have been talking before, T and I actually will give a little shout out to one of our previous guests on our show and friend, Deb Blum, if you're listening. She has an amazing Facebook group called Aging Rebels, which I'm really loving because I'm 53 and a lot of us in there are around that age where, we're trying to be our best selves as we age. So I love the group. And she talks a lot about brain health. Mm-hmm. And so she posted a podcast, and I'm not going to be able to recall the name. So that we'll have to skip on that. If anyone's interested in knowing, reach out to us
real quick while you're talking.
Okay. So the podcast was on the topic of good stress versus bad stress. And we decided to call this episode Reframe Under Pressure because they talked about this reframe as being pivotal in how our bodies end up internalizing stress. So that because the bad stress obviously is going to be like chronic stress where you have this constant flooding of cortisol in your body. It's going to create and cause all kinds of disease. In fact, even Gabor Mate talks about unhealed trauma and how unhealed trauma can cause and relate to disease that we have.
Right.
So we all know about that, right? We know that stress can cause cardiovascular disease, cancers, and all sorts of other things. But we live in this world, right? We live in this world where there are lots of external pressures. And you and I have talked so many times, even about our girls being in college, the amount of pressure for college kids, amount of pressure for young people,
right?
Just, because of so many reasons, and how to navigate that so that they're not feeling sick or having a lot of anxiety or depression. And not that this is the be all and end all tool but it's a pivotal one, and it's called a reframe. So I'll just share quickly. And then if you want to share an example of how it works or shows up in your life, and then you can share if you found the name of the podcast.
Yep.
But I just, as you know, was recently in Florida last week because I am moving into a house in Florida. And I went down by myself, and my goal was to furniture shop. But beyond the furniture shopping, I was setting up the security system. I was meeting with the people who take care of the lawn, meeting with the person who takes care of the pool, driving around an area that I'm not familiar with, but trying to furnish an entire house.
Right, because it's your second house. It's your snowbird house.
It's a snowbird. It's a second home. Trying to furnish an entire house in 3 days, because my goal was I didn't want to have to wait 4 to 6 months for furniture to come in. I wanted it to be done and ready by the time we get there in January. And of course, people are telling me that I'm crazy, but I'm like, I was pushing myself, push, just go.
Pressure.
Pressure. I didn't feel well. My body was screaming, no, stop, slow down. You're not, this isn't good. And I literally felt like my nerve endings were on fire from how much I was. And then I stopped and said, who the F is putting all this pressure on me? Who's telling me that I need to have it finished by then? And honestly, it was me putting the pressure. You know the answer to that. It's rhetorical. I was putting it on myself. My husband didn't say you need to get it done by January. It was just me saying that I needed to get it done. Okay. Now, did I get it done? Yes, I did get it done. So I feel pretty good about that. All but one room is going to be furnished. But number two, I guess what I have to say is that my perfection mask was coming into play. It came back on. Like I had to do it all perfectly done right away.
Yeah.
That's
in the
perfection.
Specific time frame.
And all or nothing, super competent, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that was at play. And then like, I don't remember if it was the third day in or the second day in is when I listened to that podcast. And what is the name of it? Do you have it?
It is Brain Health and Beyond is the
Brain
podcast.
Health and Beyond is the name. And they talked about the reframe. And I was like, oh, because what was compiling the way that I was feeling was my inner dialogue. And my inner dialogue was saying, I'm so exhausted. This is so much. I can't do this. This is so hard. It was like, oh my God. Like I was running from a wild tiger or something.
So much to do.
And like something horrible was going to happen to me if I didn't finish it. Like what would happen if I didn't?
Right.
Really, what was going to happen? Nothing. So I was safe, but I wasn't feeling safe because of my internal dialogue was You have to do this. You have to. So once I listened to that podcast and I thought about the reframe, I kind of just took a deep breath and I just chilled and said, okay, this is a lot. It's a big task. It's overwhelming, but how freaking exciting, right? Like talk about the quote, plot twist. This is exciting. I'm okay and safe. I'm doing the best that I can. That one became a repeated mantra. I'm doing the best that I can. Doing the best that I can. And if I don't finish it, it's okay.
Exactly.
Now, this might seem like a simple example or a silly example even, but it's just to illustrate how we can do this to ourselves. It could be a single mom who is, has children, supporting their kids, working a full-time job, trying to grocery shop and take care of the house and, be mom and dad and all that. That is overwhelming. And I'm not discounting. Oh, that's the word I was thinking of earlier. Discounting. I'm not discounting anyone's experience of it at all. And Tia and I were talking about this. It's an and. So you feel that, you recognize, you acknowledge
it's real.
It's real. It is challenging. It can be struggling. It can be overwhelming, and feel that and reframe so that you don't stay stuck. Now I've said a lot. I'll let you.
That was great. And I think too, with that and the reframe and the plot twist. So I'm thinking of the Netflix series, which I highly recommend, Made. So good. And it's about emotional abuse and poverty and day-to-day. And when you said single mom, that just popped right into my head.
Yep.
And so, like you said, this was an isolated weekend experience for you.
Yep.
And you were in, so you knew that there would be an end when you came home, but you could have chosen to have that go home with you too. Never mind the actual experience, but for like the single mom, the ongoing stress and pressure of that, when you literally have no money to put gas in your car and you need to get to work type of thing. So it doesn't mean you do the plot twist when there's multiple layers. Maybe you can't do it for everything because that's your reality, but can you do a plot twist for one of those pieces that is weighing heavy on you?
Yeah.
Because even just doing a plot twist for one stressor makes a difference.
Absolutely.
It makes a huge, and then it can potentially allow you to see another plot twist with the next stressor and the next one, and you experienced, coming back to your example, the beauty of the stress and the pressure, and you were noticing your mass, all of the work that you've done and the wisdom that you had shows that, again, we still get wrapped in, we still get roped back in. But when you made that plot twist and you called, you showed me this amazing sunset. Yeah. Like, would you have even noticed that if you hadn't done the plot twist in the same way?
No, definitely not. Because I would have been caught in the mental activity of what I have to do. I have to do.
Exactly.
I would be in the doing rather than in the being. And when I stopped and shared the sunset with you, when I FaceTime, I just was like, I just took a deep breath. And then I was in the being state of being able to connect with that sunset.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean all of the stuff you wanted to get done went away. It just allowed you to vacillate between, okay, I do still need to get this done, but I can still take a moment and honor my body, honor my nervous system, and take in this beautiful moment, because it truly was phenomenal. And I imagine it was only even more so in person. But recognizing, like you're saying, not discounting the experience, because so much is with like the plot twist idea can be discounting the reality.
You want to say more about that for the listeners?
So rather than
important.
Yeah. So rather than saying, oh, just look at the bright side and be positive and da, da, da. Yes, there's a point to that, but there's also the point of bypassing and recognizing, this really sucks right now. This is really hard right now. This is really stressful right now. And when we don't honor that and try to overcompensate by the reframe, by the plot twist, without acknowledging the actual experience, we're only creating more stress, because our body is like, excuse me, I'm still feeling this. Your brain might be trying to convince you everything's great, but I'm still feeling it. So it's that delicate right? It's like, okay, yes, it's hard. And you're lucky you can be able to have this experience too. And you need to feel the stress, allow it to move through. But then notice, are my thoughts, is my story making it more than it actually is?
Yeah.
But not discounting the actual experience, because so often you see that in people. I see it all around me all the time. It's either we're stuck in the story and stuck in the muck of not making any changes, or we go to the other extreme, the super happy, positive people, but then they're literally not feeling anything at all. And they won't acknowledge that life has pain, life has challenges, life has stress, but their body is still experiencing that, whether they're allowing themselves to acknowledge it or not.
And if you're not careful, if I'm not careful and I do too much of that, let it go, and the reframing without the feeling, there's, I feel for myself, an underlying message of like, it's almost a shaming kind of feeling.
Yes.
Like, what is wrong with you for feeling this way, for feeling stressed or bad or whatever? Just suck it up and look at the bright side.
Exactly. And that doesn't help.
That doesn't serve, that doesn't help at all. So I love that you said that. And that is just so key. And I think that's what, you and I are like always trying to underscore and hammer home is balance, balance, balance.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you're always going to be in that middle of the road. There's that pendulum swing. You go back and forth, back and forth. There are times when the stress, I can't, maybe couldn't have, or didn't, stop and pause and catch myself and reframe. I stay stuck in the muck or the storyline of it.
Right.
And then I vacillate over to, okay, too much bypassing. So it's finding it's a dance. And we talked about that in one of our podcasts, stepping into a new dance. And it's just so important to find the balance.
It's so important. And I think another piece too, that is I can't recall, I think they talked a little bit. Yeah, they did talk a little bit about it in the podcast. And I've heard it from other people too, is not all stress isn't inherently bad.
Right.
Chronic stress is
Yes.
bad.
Yes.
Acute stress is healthy.
Yes.
And so recognizing when we have acute stress, our thoughts and our stories and our beliefs can create and make it chronic stress without a plot twist. Because you could have taken your weekend and brought all of that home with you and like, oh, what if the furniture doesn't get delivered? What if this doesn't have it? What if that doesn't have it? Da, 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 da. Oh, I still have that one room to do. I didn't do it well. Now I got to figure, how am I going to do that? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever you would tell yourself, would take an acute, stressful weekend.
Yeah.
And created a chronic 6 months until, or what, not quite 6 months, but 4 months until you're there in January. Because for all you know, there could be a delay in a delivery.
Well, okay. So I'm going to be 100% honest and real because this is masks off. I have had those thoughts.
Sure.
I have literally, I'm like, okay, the stuff is being delivered on November 2nd. And I've probably 5 times the thought came into my head.
Yeah.
What if the furniture store doesn't deliver on November 2nd? And we're down there. So, but what happens is it's like the voices go on inside. There's that, what if the, inner child or whatever, the anxious, scared self, what if?
Right.
But because of the work that I've been doing, like my higher self will come in and say, okay, come back to the present moment. Just take a deep breath. It's all okay. It's all good. And whatever happens, I'll figure it out. Just like I figure out anything, I'll figure it out. It will happen when it has to happen. And more importantly, it's okay. And that then doesn't keep me stuck in the story. Then it's just very quick now. It's like thought comes in. And now there's a time where I don't necessarily need to feel, because that's just a thought creeping in. That's a really good example of when you don't have to feel.
Discernment.
That's the discernment. I don't need to feel that. That's just
sit here. Yeah.
I don't need to sit and feel that. That's just the worry thought, the what if, the anxious thoughts. What ended up happening is just, okay, then it's very quick. Then the higher self, adult self, whatever you want to call it, comes in and says, okay, it's okay. Relax. Everything's going to be fine. And then it's good. Then I'm good.
Right. Right.
That's the discernment.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because we do talk so much about you have to feel and da, 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 da. But sometimes there's nothing to feel. Sometimes you could create something you need to feel, because if you had attached to that thought.
Yes.
And then gone down the thought train, and now all of a sudden all this inner wounding is coming out, and now you actually have to feel, because it's really something that's showing up from the past and the present versus just a what if.
Yes. Yes.
And so recognizing the sooner we can stop that worry thought train, like you did it like that.
Yes.
Then oftentimes that's all that needs to be done. Like, oh, I see you. Yeah. You know what? You're not serving me right now. I'm going to set you aside. My adult self's going to come in, plot twist, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
But if we stay with that thought, then there usually is, because then the feeling turns into an emotion, and then it's in your body and da, da, da. So then it needs to be
felt and move through.
Yes, totally.
It seems like a very simple thing that we're talking about, but as we are talking about it and deconstructing it, there are so many layers.
Exactly.
There are so many layers to this work. And that's why, like, I'm just super excited to continue developing this like theme, thought, whatever theme that we're on, and helping to serve others, because it's just multi-layered and it's so important and useful.
It is. And that always to remember, no matter how long you've been on the journey, we're gonna get tripped up.
Yeah.
We're gonna have moments like you had this last weekend, and I've had my own share of them as well. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Move in, notice, allow. Is there a plot twist I can add, or is this thought starting to take over? What can I do to take care of myself and feel and make a choice and move forward? Or do I need to just sit for a second Do I just need to succumb for a little bit and just feel for several hours and be okay with that without, like you said, the judgment and the shame and the guilt? And it's amazing work, but it's not always easy.
But worth it in the end.
Totally.
It's so worth it. There's so much more peace. There's so much more joy, presence, empowerment, authenticity, freedom.
Right.
When you can really, I actually get excited and like to have the challenge. I get excited now. Like, I mean, I wasn't excited 3 days ago when I was in it, but now that have moved through it and worked through it, I'm super excited about the challenge of it. And that's a plot twist. That's a reframe. When I can look at, and actually my daughter just said this to me yesterday because she was struggling with something and she was stuck in it. And then she worked herself through it. And she's like, okay, now I want to look at this as a challenge for something for me to work on myself about. And that's what it is. Like, what do I say my number one value is personal growth, personal development, evolving. So I'm excited to be able to this challenge of my mind and learn even more my mind, my body, my spirit, and how to heal even more.
Exactly. And then also remembering all those experiences are there to support you, because
that's a reframe too.
If we go through life and it's always flat and even, there is no growth. And it's not healthy for us either.
That's agreed. Yeah.
So let's just the bumps.
We want the bumps. And let's quickly just say before we wrap up that we've been talking about like when it's happening to us. Now, how do we show up when it's someone in our life? Like we talk about it with our kids, right? Because we don't want to say, I don't want to say to my daughter, if she's in the muck of it, oh, just suck it up, pull yourself up by your plot twist, reframe it. All you need to do is reframe without acknowledging like how, or holding space for how she is actually feeling in the moment, because then that is discounting her experience. And you hear it all the time. When, you tell someone something, the famous line is, well, at least you blah, blah, blah. Well, at least that just discounts what the person is actually saying and feeling. And you're just saying, don't feel that way, because at least you should be feeling grateful for this. It's don't feel that, but feel this.
Someone always has it worse than you.
Someone always has it worse than you is another good example. So again, it's that balance when we're dealing with someone else in our life. It's usually the people that are, close relationships, that we don't discount their experience. So we allow them to have it, and either, another time later, you can maybe then help them if they're asking for advice, you can help them to reframe.
And then also, because everyone's human, they're going to make mistakes and they are going to discount at times, because I've done that. And it's like, oh, there, I just did it again. But recognizing you're human. Sometimes we aren't going to be able to meet and we will discount and then repair.
Yes. Yep.
So it doesn't mean the world is ending if you discount someone's experience, as long as you circle back and acknowledge, because it's not easy to do it all the time.
No, it's not. It's not.
Because
to expect ourselves to be perfect with that is not healthy or helpful either.
No.
So,
oh my gosh, there's so many other layers and tangents.
I know. So we'll have so much more to say on this, but we just thought this would be a really good example to share, since I was in the muck of it this past weekend and had my aha moment. Thanks to Deb Blum and that
Shout
podcast.
Out to her.
Yep. So thank you for that. It was a great podcast. What was it again? Brain Health and Beyond.
Brain Health and Beyond is the podcast, and they have all sorts of episodes I was listening to.
Highly recommend. So, any last words, or are we good?
I think we're good. We'll dive in more another time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for listening. And if you really liked what you heard today, just give us a thumbs up. You can subscribe, comment, and that will help our content to go up the ladder.
That's right. We appreciate any reviews, anything. So thanks everyone for listening, and don't forget to plot twist. Take care.
Have a great one.
Bye.